for the few people in attendance and the dozens who are listening all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from his spare bedroom in Norfolk, England, Mark Laws asks you to get ready to fight Bucket Monday!
Last bit of homework, the letter.
Yep.
So anyone who's not listened before, I ask every guest to write a letter. I then even more awkwardly ask them to read it out. The letter can be to anybody, dead or alive. It can be based in the past, present, or the future. It can be to themselves. It can be to somebody else, blah, 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 blah. And I believe you let the cat slip a little bit earlier on when you said the letter was to yourself. Did I hear you say it was to your 18-year-old self?
It is to my 18-year-old self, indeed, because I am that much of a narcissist.
So the context to that is that was pre-religious James.
Yeah. It was pre-fundamental changes in my life, and I suppose rather conveniently at this point, and kind of I suppose coincidentally at this point, I'm 36, so
halfway.
So it was like halfway through to where I am. I've lived that time again, but potentially with a far different perspective than I did for the years prior.
Well, for the next however long it takes, I will let you speak to 18-year-old James.
No,
did he have a cool beard and like a trainer fetish?
The trainer fetish, the beard was in its infancy, but yeah, I've always been. I appreciate this is not true anymore, and I'm clinging on to things that once were. But I've always been relatively baby faced. So as soon as I could grow a beard, I did. I had a beard before it was cool to have a beard, but just because I didn't want to look like a child anymore. All right, shall I crack on,
mate? The stage is yours. Fire away.
Right. Try and keep it together, eh? Dear James,
if you don't, you'll be in good company because I don't think anyone has yet. Okay. Least of all me.
Dear James, shortly after you receive this letter, you'll start to feel like you're running headfirst into a brick wall. You don't quite understand it yet, but your mental and physical health is running down. Frankly, the physical health part isn't a huge problem because you're 18 and can survive better than you ever will at 36 with no sleep and too much bad living. The mental health thing isn't that generous. You've been having panic attacks for a while now and they proper suck, but you're going to learn to live with them. And relatively speaking, you'll just about see the back of them in not too long a time. The thing is, buddy, you lack purpose and direction, and this is a problem. Living and working on a holiday park is bloody awesome, but before too long, it takes its toll. You're hugely social and actually quite introverted, but that FOMO is real, and despite needing time by yourself, you will insist on keeping on going to everything and being the last to leave. This problem, unfortunately, is yet to be resolved. I know you're rather well acquainted with drugs, but now binge drinking is your recreation of choice, and before too long, that nasty, insipid, and rather low quality white powder will become a dominant feature. You're soon going to work out that this is a bit of a problem when you find yourself doing it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before going to lifeguard training. Unfortunately, because you're still a proper numpty, even though you know it to be a problem, you're going to crash a few relationships before you really do wake up to it sucking the life out of you. In all honesty, 36-year-old you thinks 18-year-old you is a bit of a div. You are the most selfish person you have ever had the unfortunate pleasure of meeting. You're a bad friend, a distant son, an ignorant team member, and a bloody awful boyfriend. Although that final point is probably not such a bad thing for the minute, but more on that later. Now, don't get me wrong, you keep up the pretense of being generous of heart and caring, and by some estimations, you're not the down and out you could be. You're probably depressed, and you most certainly don't have the best of prospects. But your future is more wonderful, more full of hope, love, and blessing than you could ever think possible. I'm not writing to you from a position of superiority. I am you, not better necessarily, but different, very, very different. In fact, I often say 18-year-old you would wonder where on earth 36-year-old you came from. I will tell you a bit about that. Having lived your life all over again 18 years later, one of my biggest regrets is that I lived like you for so long. I love you. I just wish you loved you a little bit more. Not in a selfish, self-seeking way. You are already totally nailing that. But in the life has so much for you, you have so much more to give kind of way. Pretty soon your life is going to change, mate. You will already be a lifeguard at this moment. I can tell you now it's more than a job. 18 years later, you'll still be enjoying your career in the sector. Your roles have changed and you'll find yourself having the opportunity to lead people and organisations, helping them to be their best, to enjoy rewarding careers, to learn to be themselves in all situations and to serve their communities. You will achieve more than you ever thought you could. Ironically, your desire to leave school and train to become a PE teacher that you quickly abandoned in favour of earning money will in part become a reality, or at least elements of it. The environment is a bit different, but it's still sport and physical activity based, and you're still privileged enough to support people's learning, but now it's adults, not young people. It's awesome, you're going to love it. Even the worst of it is a great privilege to be a part of. But this isn't the best bit. One day soon there will be a rather attractive young lady doing handstands in the pool. Lifeguarding is not the glamorous thing that Baywatch would lead you to believe, but there are still some perks of the job. Your decided lack of confidence will result in you not talking to her, although you really wanted to. But thanks to a frustrated and irritated friend and a very confident woman, you will get to know her and you will fall in love. But just a quick note on that last part. When you tell her you love her, it'll be really early doors, you soppy git. And she'll give you the opportunity to take it back. Don't. I didn't. Stick to your guns, because you'll be saying that to her every day for the rest of your life. Sarah is, by anyone's standards, the best of women. She's your sunshine, your best friend, and she's unbelievably gorgeous. You, my friend, will fall on your feet. She will bring out the best in you. She will encourage you, forgive you, and hold you to the highest of standards. There is something very different about her. All of those aspects I've listed are phenomenal, but there is something else. She's a Christian. Not a Christian in the, I went to Harvest Festival at church once and live in the UK, so of course I'm a Christian. No, she's a devoted, compassionate and passionate follower of Jesus. Why is she dating you? God only knows. But she is, and your life, that life without purpose, that life of selfish living, self-seeking solitude, is going to be transformed for good. You'll be pleased that you failed as a boyfriend before, because it means that you met Sarah and she is not one to tolerate you not being your best. On the 20th of May 2007, you'll visit her church, where her dad is the pastor, by the way. Don't worry, he's an easygoing and wonderful guy, no stereotypes here. And you will also be compelled to stand in response to the invitation to follow Jesus that you cannot resist, and will be convinced that there is something, someone so much greater than you that is leading you to give yourself to a new way of living. Honestly, where you are right now, you probably think that this is the most ludicrous of things, and it kind of is. So you know, Jesus loves everyone, even people like you. You're going to be baptized on your 21st birthday. No real significance here, but it's a very different 21st birthday than the one that you may have imagined for yourself. Living for Jesus is hard, but you will always be secure. You have a Father in heaven who loves you with a perfect love. It's probably cliche to say, but you and Sarah will adventure for Christ for the rest of your life. Sometimes willingly, sometimes kicking and screaming. Although you may doubt, he never doubts you, never leaves you, and he will never forsake you. You'll be married in 2010. You will live in a pokey flat with bars on the windows, and you will be happy about it. Sadly, and honestly, sadly doesn't cut it, but I'm not sure I can dwell too long here to think of the best word to describe it. So, sadly, in July of 2011, Sarah will get a headache. It's bad. It's really bad. We think it's a migraine, but she loses around a quarter of her field of vision. After being admitted to King, she'll be placed on the stroke ward, as this seems the most likely source of the headache and sight loss. After lots of tests, CAT scans and an MRI, some profoundly awkward and inappropriate doctor will tell her that she has multiple sclerosis. You don't really know what that is, but you know it isn't great. Scans show lesions all over her brain where this terrible and degenerative condition has begun to attack her and forever rob her of a normal life. After 18 months of marriage, at the ages of 22 and 23 respectively, you do not expect to have the sickness and in health part of your vows tested. But remember, never forget, you are loved, and your God will never leave you, never forsake you. Life is different now. The once obvious idea of having children is in question. A rich and rewarding career for Sarah is now likely a thing of the past, and you will both have to make tough choices and make uncountable allowances in the way that you live. Sarah is a mighty woman. She has a strength that you wish you could have for yourself. The way she copes with her condition, the faith that she has throughout will always be a source of strength and encouragement to you. She is simply amazing. And you know what? Even in the worst of it, you will see God making good on his promises to work all things. And I really mean all things together for good. All of this is made infinitely easier by being blessed with a phenomenal family, wonderful friends, and a faith-filled, loving church family in New Hope. You are rich. Along with Sarah came her family, and what a family it is. Of course, when Sarah got you, she got your lot as well. Mum and Dad are doing well, and Matt is one of your best friends. Dad gets cancer, but he goes through it and remains as physically and strong as ever. You know your family though, so I won't dwell here for too long. Sarah's family are wonderful. They take you in and take you on as one of their own. There is no sense of being an in-law here, simply a brother and a son. John and Linda, your parents-in-law, are most certainly a second set of parents. How blessed you are, my boy. Linda is one of a kind. The love that she shows you is second to none, and she'll be your greatest advocate outside of Sarah. As you learn to walk with God, she will walk with you every step of the way. From that first step of faith to becoming a pastor and a preacher, yeah, that happened, to the birth of your boys, she is for you, and you will have a love for her that words cannot quite describe. You will wind her up and she will wind you up, but sadly it won't last forever, because nothing really does. Linda will be diagnosed with cancer almost precisely 2 weeks after your first son Jax is born. The prognosis is crap, but Linda is stronger than it. There is terrible suffering and yet glorious joy. Despite the outlook, Linda will see more wonderful grandchildren born, including your second son Ezra. It is with regret that I write and tell you that Linda passed away a little under a year ago, and the wound is as open and painful today as it was on the day it happened. She cannot be replaced, and she certainly won't be forgotten. The impact she has made on you will last for eternity, and I delight that she lives on through Sarah, Jax, and Ezra. You'll be forever grateful that your wonderful boys had the joy and pleasure of starting life with all four grandparents when you did not. Their love and input into them has done them good. The Bible tells us to raise children in the way that they should go, and they will not depart from it. Knowing that their grandparents have a hand in this is a great joy. About these boys of yours. What was once potentially never going to happen now has happened. My word, has it happened. As I write this letter to you, Jax is now 5 and Ezra is 2. Just to explain the Jax thing, he is, as you would expect, actually called James. He is proudly the 10th James Duncan, but we needed to know him as something else, right? It would be confusing otherwise. Sarah came up with Jax as the Roman numeral for 10, is X, so it seemed to fit. I was secretly really excited about it, as Jax Teller is the main protagonist from the Sons of Anarchy TV show. Keep your eye out for that, it's not out yet. The boys are amazing. Being a parent is the hardest thing you have ever done, but it's also the best. They will beat you on a daily basis, and although you may protest, you secretly love it. Look forward to meeting them. They are the sum total of yours and Sarah's relationship, and a wonderful gift of grace. So what else can I say? You're married to the most amazing woman. You have 2 gorgeous boys, a wonderful family, and a fantastic group of friends. You're part of a wonderful church. You have a job you love, a gorgeous home, and most wonderful thing of all is that you are kept safe in the strong arms of the God who loves you. This letter is a letter of thanksgiving. I want to give God all the glory for the life that you have already lived and still have to live. It's thanksgiving to parents who raised you well, a family that took you in as one of their own, to a church that has discipled you and cared for you, and to a wife and sons who love you for being you, even when that's hard. Know this, as you sit here at 36, you will know that even in the worst of situations, in the most joyful of times, you're exactly where you need to be, and you're doing exactly what He created you to do. I don't despise who you are at 18, but I'm bloody glad that your life changed. The trajectory that you are on doesn't look to be heading to where it is now. You are without purpose, lost and lacking in joy, but things change. Life changes. Go with it. Don't push against it. Don't avoid the bad things or the difficult things. You'll have plenty of regrets, but you will learn, you will grow, and you will experience a life of love beyond your wildest dreams. Life is hard, no doubt, but my word, is it good.